I was saying, y'all, your boy Rico from StreetScores, and this is probably even bigger and better news than the draft class we just put together. And I do plan on doing a full breakdown of the overall class. Might great for it, breaking down every prospect and everything like that, especially now that I've had more time to watch film on them. But this news is even bigger and better. The Washington Commanders, apparently, reportedly, from several different trustworthy sources, have closed a new $3 billion deal with DC for the new stadium that will be at the RFK site. We're here to break down all of the details that we have so far. Apparently, the official announcement will happen tomorrow morning, as in Monday morning, by the time a lot of y'all are watching this. Monday, April 28th in the morning at some point, we'll get an official announcement. Again, let's dive into everything we know right now. But before we do, stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Makes you stay tuned to all of the content. I appreciate y'all for pulling up and supporting and watching every video that I've been putting out, every breakdown, even for some of the later round draft picks. I'm working on all of the undrafted free agents. I may not necessarily do one video for each one, but any of the notable ones are getting their own individual videos, and then I'll probably just pile like the rest of them all in one big video. But either way, I will talk about every undrafted free agent at some point, so stay tuned for that. I'm working on film sessions for all the draft picks and any really notable undrafted free agents as well. So if you're not a channel member, go become one. But without further ado, instead of wasting more of y'all time, let's go and dive into the video right now. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so shouts out to Kunit Dill. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. It's CUNEYTDIL on Twitter. He was the very first person to tweet about this and announce it. It was 7:44 p.m. He tweeted, "Here we go. DC and the Commanders will unveil tomorrow morning a $3 billion deal to build a new football stadium at the RFK Stadium site. Axios has learned." And of course, when I first saw that, I just was like, man, maybe it's too good to be true. I was definitely questioning whether this source was reliable or not. I was questioning whether I should even do a video to talk about it. But then immediately after that, like within less than like 30 minutes, you had Sam Fortier tweet about it, saying DC and the Commanders plan to announce the deal for their new stadium at RFK tomorrow, reporting Megan Flynn and Nikki Javala. Then we get even further back up. You have JP Finley, who did a tweet about it, an article about it, saying the secret is out now. RFK, baby. So maybe he knew something behind the scenes, and maybe he was told some information on the side, but was also told, hey, don't talk about it yet. But then once the cat was out of the bag, then I guess everybody had free reign to talk about it. So then John Com also tweeted about it and said, agreement reached with Commanders in DC to build a stadium at RFK. And he has an entire article attached to that. We're going to read some things from his article as well, but I really want to get to the very original source from the guy whose name, again, Kunit Dill. I hope that's how you pronounce that name. But after John Com, once it was official, you saw Adam Schefter even tweet about it. And he pointed out the fact that the Commanders have agreed to a deal with the District of Columbia to build a stadium at the RFK site where it played from 1961 to 1966 and where the team had its greatest success. And that's why so many of us are attached to it. That's why so many of us really wanted to go back to RFK. Superstition, belief that it's good luck, whatever. And I mean, it's just time to move over from Landover, man. You know, me being born and that's where I was until I moved to Atlanta. Like, I love Maryland and everything, but that stadium is cooked, man. It's one of the worst stadiums in the NFL. It would have been cool if they could have just rebuilt a new stadium in Maryland, but it seems like DC is where most people wanted to be at, especially as far as like public transportation. It's a middle between Maryland and Virginia, rather than Virginia having to cross DC and get to Maryland. Maryland doesn't have to cross Maryland and DC to get to Virginia. It's like that kind of happy middle. Of course, not everybody's going to be happy, but I feel like the largest percentage of people is going to be happy with it in DC than any other part of the DMV. And then shouts out to Chad Ryan. He said, hell yes, like HAIL, of course. He said, such an incredibly good outcome. Great work to the Harris Group and Jason Wright for all of the foundational work that paved the way for this. And I do feel like Jason Wright gets too much hate. I feel like we definitely need to give him a salute for because we probably wouldn't be where we are this early without him. But most importantly, Resh Manuel brings up a good point. He said Josh Harris is about to announce he has done what Dan Snyder couldn't do in 20 plus years. What in the minds of his fellow owners as was Dan Snyder's greatest football failure? I would agree. Not every owner is expected to be loved or even build a Super Bowl contender, but you better deliver a new stadium, especially with as long as we were playing in Landover again. By now, you could argue we have the worst stadium in the entire NFL right now. Now, shouts out to Josh Harris for coming in, and within just like the year and a half that he's been here, he's already done everything that he can to improve the stadium, but it's an infrastructure problem. You can add as much ketchup and mustard on dirt as you want, but at the end of the day, it's dirt, man. We have a core infrastructure problem that it's only but so much you can do no matter how much money you spend before you just need an entirely new stadium to start from the ground up, from the foundation all the way up. And then also shouts out to Jake Russell because, I mean, this is a great point. Since July of 2023, the Commanders have been bought by Josh Harris, hired a new general manager, one of the best in the business. I mean, that guy got a third-round pick for Sam Howell, and then the Seahawks just traded him to the Vikings for a fifth or a sixth-round pick swap. I think a fifth-round pick swap. I think all they did was move up 20 spots in the fifth round. They didn't even get a fifth-round pick. A pick swap. That's technically like a 7th round value. So 4 rounds later than what we got for Sam Howell. Insane. Like, that beyond all of the other things that he's done with taking us from 4 wins to 14 in just one offseason. Insane. Also hired a new head coach who's loved by everybody. I mean, even Madden chose him out of all head coaches in the NFL to narrate their upcoming Madden game with the first major trailer that they released. It was attached to the draft and all of that. If you haven't seen that, go check that out, especially if you're a Commanders fan. Also, we drafted our franchise quarterback. Not only is he a franchise quarterback, which I could argue we've never had in my lifetime, he's already arguably top 5 out of the entire NFL with the potential to get even better and surpass a few of those guys ahead of him. We also won 11 plus games for the first time in 33 years. I wasn't alive since the last time we did it. I'm not 33 years old. We won our first playoff game since 2006. We went to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 33 years as well. And now we've struck a new stadium deal to move back to the RFK site. I mean, it's just crazy how much things have changed going from Dan Snyder to Josh Harris. Literally, once Dan Snyder was gone, all options were open. Remember when Dan Snyder was here, we couldn't even beg Maryland, DC, or Virginia to potentially take us as like, this is where we want our new stadium. We were begging them. Then after Dan Snyder sold the team and Josh Harris and company came in, Magic Johnson and all of these other guys that attached to it, now you have DC, Maryland, and Virginia fighting over each other to get us. Like, the roles were completely reversed, and all we had to do was get rid of Dan Snyder to do it. But it also helps when you bring in a guy like Josh Harris and the group of guys that we brought in, because that's what makes it even better. Getting rid of Dan Snyder was the first move, but then finding another great leadership group was probably arguably the most important part. But now moving on, I really hope we get some renderings along with the official announcement. Whatever's coming out tomorrow, again, technically for a lot of y'all are watching this later today, I really hope we get some sort of renderings for a new stadium design, man. I may even live stream my live reaction to it if we get some stadium renderings, man, so y'all can see it while I'm seeing it for the very first time. I literally won't even look at it until I pop open that live stream, so make sure you stay tuned. If that's something that happens, I will live react to that. Also, shouts out to Chad Ryan because he brings up a good point. Even outside of the renderings, are the Commanders moving their training and headquarters to the RFK precinct as well so that we can have everything in one spot? Right now, we do everything in Virginia except for play on actual game days, which is in Maryland. It's a really weird situation. It would be cool if everything was in one exact spot. Also, do we get a proposed stadium render like I've been questioning? He said roof or no roof, it's more than likely going to have a roof. You're not going to spend all of this money on a new stadium if you don't want to host Super Bowls, you don't want to have all of the events, anything, the Olympics, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta have that roof, that dome, especially since you're up there where it's cold by the time the Super Bowl is played in like February and things like that. You gotta have a roof on it, man. And then also, what happens to Landover? That's a good question. I would love to know that. And then what other amenities are planned for the area? I think those are all very important questions. I can't wait to find out. Hopefully we get all of that tomorrow, but I doubt it. That's just like a best case scenario. But then shouts out to Chad Ryan for also pointing this out. You see two different circles. The red circle is just like the land around the stadium specifically. The orange circle also includes a bunch more land of the surrounding area, and he's questioning, do the Commanders get control of all of that under the orange or just specifically in the red? That's hopefully something that we'll find out tomorrow as well. But shouts out to Chick Hernandez. He came out and tweeted, "It's happening. DC government sources confirmed to WUSA 9 that the Washington Commanders principal owner Josh Harris and DC Mayor Muriel E. Bowser will announce Monday morning at a joint press conference," so that's interesting, "that they've agreed to deal to build a new stadium on the RFK site. The deal will have to be approved by the DC Council. The Commanders are not commenting on our report tonight, and the franchise left the stadium back in 1996, just to remind you. Also, apparently the deal is well over $3 billion to build the new stadium at the RFK site and develop the surrounding area. Again, like I showed y'all with the orange and red, what do they mean by the surrounding area? And then also the deal is a public and private partnership that will include taxpayer dollars potentially. And I'm not exactly sure how excited people are about that, but at the same time, the team plans to contribute $2.5 billion to building the new historical stadium. Now to go back to the original source, like I said earlier, with the Cunnit Deal guy, who was the very first person to ever tweet or even announce that this whole thing was happening. His article was titled, "Commanders to Unveil New NFL Stadium Deal with DC on Monday" at Axios.com. In his article, he breaks it all down in different categories. First of all, he said DC and the Washington Commanders will unveil on Monday morning a $3 billion deal to build a new football stadium at the RFK site, like I've said like a million times throughout this video. But he said why it matters. The mega project would jumpstart construction of a new residential and entertainment hub on waterfront real estate, and Mayor Muriel Bowser reportedly wants to kick in around $800 million in tax dollars. So I want to make sure y'all know that the team's trying to contribute like $2.5 billion on their end. There's going to be like $800 million in tax dollars. Again, we're just going to go through this article. We'll get more information later as well. Then state of play. The announcement is planned for 11 a.m. at the National Press Club. Two sources with knowledge who were not authorized to speak publicly tell Axios. So this is crazy. This is like a leak, I guess, technically. Franchise owner Josh Harris plans to join Bowser at the unveiling according to the official invitation. So it sounds like there will be some sort of a press conference held at 11 a.m. Does that mean it'll include renderings or anything like that? Not exactly. We probably won't even get all of the details that Chad Ryan asked about that I'm also curious about. But hey, we'll get like an official announcement. Also, the big picture. Bowser's office and the Commanders negotiated for months for a deal to bring the NFL back to the nation's capital. The price tag was revealed in media coverage this month, though the full details are yet to be known. The friction point is up to the DC Council to approve the deal. Many lawmakers oppose sinking public money into a stadium project, and I understand. And then also, not to mention the city's finances are in funk due to federal job cuts and congressional mandated budget cuts. The city is expected to trim public services as it foresees a mild recession in the next fiscal year. Highly doubt it's going to be mild at all. I think it's going to be way bigger than that, but either way, the DC Treasury should not be paying towards a stadium. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson told Washington Post recently. And also, the mayor's team will likely argue the funds will be spent to upgrade the site's infrastructure to support new residential, commercial, and retail development around the stadium and not just the stadium. And then the next section, he said the Commanders in the mayor's office did not immediately return Axios' request for comment. They're like, this shouldn't even be out. So I don't even want to comment on it. Also, catch up fast. He said the deal follows last December's Hail Mary vote in Congress to give the city long-term planning authority over the 170-acre RFK site, which is federally owned. And then his last 2 points, the franchise left RFK Stadium for the Maryland suburbs in 1996 after 3 Super Bowl wins, but it never caught the same magic at the current Northwest Stadium in Landover, used to be the FedEx Field. Now the team is coming off its best regular season in 33 years with star quarterback Jayden Daniels, and Harris wants to open the new stadium by 2030. Just some general information there. Again, I'm hoping we get a lot more detail tomorrow. But then shouts out to John Kahn, because he said a lot in this article, but I just wanted to skip straight to the part where he said, the agreement completes a years-long search by the organization that gained serious momentum once Harris purchased the Commanders from Dan Snyder. Harris, who grew up in Maryland, made it clear on the day he bought the team in July of 2023 how much going to games at RFK Stadium meant to him. So this is very big for him, just as like it is for us fans, because Josh Harris not only owns the team, but he's a huge fan of the team just like we are. Then again, Dan Snyder was a huge fan of the team, and that worked out terribly. But Josh Harris is far more genuine, intelligent, and compassionate, all that type of stuff. So you see this is working out completely different. Out of the way, Bowser told ESPN in December that, quote, there were a lot of objections raised to the previous ownership and the directions that they took the team, unquote. And that just goes to show that when Dan Snyder was here, nobody wanted to be the place where the new stadium was built. Now that Dan Snyder's gone and Josh Harris and Magic Johnson, all of these guys are in, now they're fighting over who will get the chance to host the new stadium. The momentum further surged once Congress included a provision in a continuing resolution bill in December, giving the city control of the land for the next 99 years. Without that allowance, the Commanders would not have reached an agreement with the city. Harris and the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell lobbied lawmakers on Capitol Hill to pass legislation to allow for the transfer of land. It was signed into law by former President Joe Biden in early January. At the time, one team source said that there was a 75% chance they would build a stadium at the RFK site. Now the Commanders had considered staying in Landover, Maryland at one point and building on the site of their current stadium. Virginia had been in contention as well, but over the past year, it ceased to be a strong option, so it was really down to Maryland and D.C. The team has practiced in Ashburn, Virginia since 1992. The Commanders' once antiquated building is in the second year of a 3-year upgrade, renovating the locker room and creating more space for a players' lounge, meeting rooms, among other areas. Their draft war room was used for the first time this weekend, so remember that was upgraded as well. That's nice. Again, Josh Harris and company are doing everything that they can to make what we currently have to work with as good as possible. But again, there's an infrastructure problem. It's only but so much you can do. There's only but so many upgrades you can put over what we currently have as far as facilities and our stadium in Landover to improve it in any way. But I mean, there's a limit, man. You just got to start all the way. You got to wipe it completely clean, start from the ground up. And then John Com also says RFK has remained a favorite spot for long-term fans. And not just because it's more centrally located, like I talked about earlier, but the organization also played in 5 Super Bowls and won 3 while playing at RFK from 1982 to 1991, fueling an emotional attachment among the fan base, like I briefly mentioned earlier as well. Harris has talked often about what it meant to him and a number of his co-owners to make sure they take the burgundy and gold back to DC. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. If you made it this far in the video, really appreciate you. And of course, once this announcement is officially made at like 11 a.m., by the time I get back home, I'm going to try to break down any news that we get. If we get any significant further information beyond what we already know, what I just gave you in this video, I will do a full video breakdown on that, and I'll do a whole live stream if they give us any renderings of what the new stadium may look like, be built like, all of that type of stuff. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. And I apologize for the live stream that I was supposed to do on Sunday, as in today, technically tonight, but technically yesterday for most of y'all watching this. I do plan on doing a draft review live stream where y'all call in. I'm gonna do a call-in show, but we'll probably do that this upcoming weekend, so make sure you stay tuned and alert for that. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know what questions you may have, all of that type of stuff. What are some things that you're interested in as far as this whole RFK situation that maybe I didn't include or question in this video? Let me know everything, man. I want this to be like a central hub for great information as far as this whole RFK thing going, especially like if you're in the area. You know, I know a couple of people called into the call-in show before the draft and mentioned like, I live near there, I'm just like 5 minutes away, and they've already started doing this and that. So include all of that information in the comment section as well. I'm definitely going to try my best to read and reply to as many of them as possible. Again, make sure you leave a like on the way out. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.